Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is Times Square Chronicles. Today, we are with a major legend. Anyone who has ever wanted somebody to come back home, wanted to remember somebody, and saw a yellow ribbon, knows this man and his music. We are with Tony Orlando.
Hi,
Tony,
Susanna.
hi, how are you? You
I'm
started
fine,
off,
thank you. I'm
you
fine.
started off as a music producer, correct?
No, I actually started out as a singer with Carole King in 1961.
Oh, so were you in the Brill building?
None of us were. It's a misnomer. People always say the Brill Building, and we say yes, but really we weren't. We were in a building across the street called 1650 Broadway,
Oh, I know that.
but there was a difference. The Brill Building was the old timers, the guys who wrote, in the 20s and 30s. So it became famous. But Carole King, Jerry Goffin, Neil Diamond, Paul Simon, myself, all of
James
us,
Taylor.
James Taylor, Neil Sedaka, we all were in that building across the street at 1650 Broadway.
Wow. You need to write a book about that because everyone thinks it's the Brill building.
Yeah, but we all kind of go, yeah, yeah, it's the building. But really and truly, the guy who owns 1650 deserves some credit too.
So, when you started off as a singer, were you also a songwriter or did you
I, I,
collaborate
I
with
was
somebody?
a songwriter. I signed with Don Kirshner, which was the office that had, Neil and it had Carol and
Right.
Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil and Paul Simon and all of us. And I started out as a set, but I realized very quickly that once I heard what they were writing, I thought I better become an entertainer and stop my writing career. They were ridiculous, as you know, in history
Yes.
has proved that to be true. So I decided to go in the studio and do all the demos for Carol and Jerry and Barry and Cynthia for the acts that they were recording, such as Up on the Roof. I did the demo for Carol for the
Oh,
Drifter.
yeah.
Take Good Care of My Baby. I did the demo for that for Bobby V. And that was my job. At the same time, I didn't realize I was kind of going to college, learning my own craft.
Mm.
And finally, they took a chance on little old me, and we had a hit record called Halfway to Paradise in 1961, and then one called Bless You in 1962. And what's so great about that is the show Beautiful, that was the life story of Carole King,
Right.
really talks about those four writers: Carol, her husband Jerry, Barry, and Cynthia. Who was the artist that they were working with was me.
Wow.
In the show, yeah, as it is a wow. And in the show, the Broadway show, I always used to say to them, how come you guys didn't mention that I was there when we were doing all this stuff? But the truth of the matter is, we have been friends right up until Jerry died, Carol's husband, and Cynthia Weil, Barry Mann's wife, recently passed away. And I had the privilege, imagine, I met them when I was 16. I had the privilege in my late 70s to host their celebration of life funeral.
Oh, wow. That must have been spectacular.
It was, it was. And those kind of that kind of thing has happened to me. I hate it. It kind of sounds morbid to people,
Not
but it's
really.
to me with someone else that was one of my heroes, and that was Jerry Lewis. When
Oh.
Jerry passed away, I idolized him since I was 9 years old. And here I did, ended up doing the telethon with him for 33 years and hosting his celebration of life funeral.
Mm. Wow. In After being a singer, how did you become a record producer?
I had to pay the rent. That simple. The British invasion happened, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and I was only in my early 20s. And a guy named Clive Davis, you might know that name,
Yeah, sure.
hired me to be vice president of his music division at 23 years old.
Oh, wow. So not only are you a legend, you've worked with legends.
Oh, he's definitely a legend, but thank you for saying I am. But he is still the Clive Davis. When you look at his body of work, it's beyond the word. It's an iconic legend, really, Clive.
Well, we get told stories, and at this point, we don't even know if they're true. But if I remember the story correctly, you somebody else was supposed to sing Tie a Yellow Ribbon and you weren't singing, and then you brought on Dawn. Am I right on all this?
You know why you're doing this podcast? Because you're right on everything.
No, I'm very
Oh,
much
you're absolutely 100% right.
so.
So,
Who was supposed to sing the song originally?
well, I don't know the name of the kid that, here's what happened. And I've tried to tell this story. I hope I get it right this time because it's kind of
Your
confusing.
story.
Well, it's kind of confusing. What happens is, do you remember the Tokens?
Yes.
Lion Sleeps Tonight.
Yeah.
One of the Tokens, his name is Hank Medris, who was also the producer of the Tokens records and other people.
Okay.
He comes to my office. Remember, I'm sitting there as vice president working for Clive Davis now, right? Pretty big job.
Big job back then.
So he comes to me and he goes, Tony, I'm broke. I need $3,000 at least to get out of my mortgage payments and set bills, etc. Could you help me? Here's a song I produced called Candida.
Oh yeah, I remember that song.
So he plays me the song. And I said, well, look, I'm not a record company, but what I will do is I'll bring it to the record companies that I think it's right for, and I'll pitch it for you and see what we can do. So I took it to a label called Bell Records. On Bell Records, they had the Partridge Family.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the Fifth Dimension, a lot of big hits.
Love the 50s.
So I played them the record. They loved the record. They loved the arrangement. They loved everything, but they didn't like the lead singer. So I come back and I said to Hank, they'll give you the money. They love the record. They love the arrangement. Change the singer to more like a Drifters, Benny King kind of a singer. He remembers that I did the demos for Benny King and the Drifters. He then says, you do it for me. I say, well, I can't do it for you. I work for Clive Davis and Columbia Records. I'll get fired. He said, I won't call it Tony Orlando. Please, I need the money, Tony. I said, well, I'll go in the studio. What's the name of the song? It's called Candida. Well, I'll go in the studio and I'll cut it. If we're done in an hour, you'll have it. If I'm not done in an hour, I'm going home for my dinner. I go in the studio and I cut Candida one line at a time. As I learned it, I sang the first line, then the second line, then the third line. Finished it within the hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
It comes out and it sells 2 million records. Not as Tony Orlando, but as a group he named Dawn. Now,
Right.
you asked me the reason, why did he say Dawn? Come on, ask
Why did he ask you? Hi, Magda. Why did he ask you and call about Dawn?
Yeah, why did he name the group Dawn, right?
Why?
Well, because he wanted to make the president of the company whose daughter was named Dawn happy. He get a little privilege, right?
Right, of course.
Guess what? It worked. Then he comes to me and says, hey, Tony, how about cutting this next song called Knock Three Times? I said, Hank, this song will never be a hit. This song will only be a hit in Brooklyn because Brooklyn still has pipes to hit on the steam heat. They don't have pipes in the Midwest or in California. So I record this song and it sells 4 million records. Now we're up
because Knock Three Times could mean anything.
Oh, now we're up to 6 million records. It was time to consider change jobs, and I changed the job and became Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Wow. Did you ever regret giving up working for Clive Davis?
No, but he regretted having me leave.
Oh, I bet. Oh, you didn't record with his label?
No. No, I worked for him as a publisher. I'm only kidding. Actually, here's how I left Clive. I went to Clive's office and I said, Clive, I knew you when you signed me when I was 16 years old to Epic Records, which is true. And I said, now I'm about to leave your company. I want to thank you for the opportunity to represent James Taylor, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, all these great artists. I signed Barry Manilow for you. I want to go out and I want to move on. And he said, oh, why? Because you're Dawn? And I said, wait a minute. You've known all this time that I'm Dawn? He said, Tony, it's the worst kept secret in show business, but I'll tell you what. You follow your dream. If it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, you can always come home.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Clive in his 90s right now. Recently on my WABC radio show in New York, I did a 4-hour interview with Clive Davis.
Nice.
Start measuring the hit records that he's had and how many great artists he's signed. He's still the humble Clive. He's still the guy that gave me the break,
Mm.
From the day I started when I was 16 years old, he took Donnie Kirshner's two little writers called, Carole King and Jerry Goffin, gave me Half of the Paradise, and then again, gave me a vice presidentship, which opened the door to become who? Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Wow. Do you remember going to Ye Little Club in Beverly Hills? Because you used to come in, Joan Rivers owned the club.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I was one of the singers that you talked to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was one of the people that Joan Rivers.
Yeah. Joan believe it or not, we used to co-perform together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She would open the show at Caesar's Palace and also at the Riviera.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
just remember you coming into Ye Little Club when I was like 16, 17 and saying, you should pursue this. But I was into musical theater, the end.
Yeah. Well, I had a chance to do Barnum on Broadway.
Did you?
Yeah.
And why didn't you do it?
Pardon me?
Why didn't you do it?
I did do it.
Oh, you did? You did
Yeah.
Barnum?
Yeah.
How did I not know this?
Yeah, I followed Jim Dale into Barnum.
Oh my God, I did not know this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Smoky Joe's Cafe.
That I knew you did. That one I knew you did.
But in Barnum, I had to walk the wire.
Join the circus.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had seen that. I saw Jim Dale. As a matter of fact, I saw Jim Dale a week ago, almost a week ago today.
What you tell Jim Dale, he'll remember this story.
Okay.
When I went in to do Barnum,
Mm-hmm.
one of the actors on Broadway wanted to do that show. The reason was it was when Jim decided to take a vacation.
Right.
And no actor wanted to learn how to walk the wire,
right,
juggle,
right,
hit the trampoline, learn the script, learn the dances, and in Barnum, you're never off stage.
No, never. And you have a song that's not that easy to sing. That there is a sucker born every minute.
Right. There is a sucker born every minute. But that show allowed me to prove to the world that after Freddie Prinze's passing, I was okay.
Oh, wow.
And that's why I decided, I said, if I'm able to walk the wire, no one's going to ever accuse Tony of drugs. No one's ever going to accuse me of not being able to return to entertainment. And, this is when I retired last March 22nd, was 64 years in show business.
Why did you retire?
Time.
Okay. I've also read that you're now very spiritual. Is that true?
I'm sorry?
I've read that you're very spiritual now. And you're
always been spiritual.
So are you on a spiritual journey? Is that also why you retired?
So are you.
I am, definitely. I also own another site called Unlocking the Keys to Healing. That's all about spirituality.
I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a Catholic when I was born, and then I continue to love every Catholic that walks, including the new Pope. I became what they call a born-again Christian in the 70s, and I'm still a Christian. And I'm a very, very strong believer that, there's a God and there's a Christ and there's Israel and then there's the Old Testament and New Testament. And yeah, I believe in, and I respect everybody's ability to believe in whatever they want to believe in.
I agree, because I kind of think that God wouldn't just give us one choice. I think that there are multiple choices that are the same thing, but are given
That's
different.
up to God to decide, not you.
Agreed. Now you help
So
veterans.
next time I meet God, I'm going to ask him if you're right, Susanna.
Well, hopefully that won't be
No,
too soon.
I understand what you mean, and it's a very fair thing what you're saying. But my focus, when I went to the wall in Israel,
Mm,
and I prayed, and I put everybody's name that I love in that wall,
hmm
and I went back and I thought, oh my God, everything I ever read in the Bible is here.
hmm
Nothing has changed. They don't even put a parking lot. The Bible still lives in Jerusalem.
Right.
And to experience that as a Christian, my Judaic heart or my Yiddish kepi, my Yiddish heart, which is both, my father, is Greek, and he remarried to a beautiful Jewish girl from Brooklyn. So all three of my brothers were Jewish. So I always gave them a heart and a cross. And my dad, by the way, in Florida, is the only non-Jew buried in this in the David Star of David Cemetery in Fort Lauderdale. And he
Wow.
had on one side the cross, and the other side the Star of David, because the rabbis all loved his love of both religions. He loved Judaism and he loved Christianity, and so do I.
There's a song I think you would like by Jason Robert Brown from a show called The Connector, called The Western Wall. You
That,
should hear it.
yeah.
It's a phenomenal song. It's a really phenomenal
So,
song.
if someone comes to me and says, I'm a spiritual person,
Mhm.
I respect that devoutness as much as I respect someone who's I'm Jewish or I'm a Christian, whatever religion
Right.
they are, I give it the same equal respect.
Now, I've heard you also help veterans.
I've raised about $100 million for veterans since 1973.
So have you worked with Gary Sinise or Camp for Heroes?
Um, I started before Gary Sinise.
Okay.
Gary came in maybe 10 years after me. We worked together on American Airlines initiatives. We worked together on Snowball Express,
Oh, wow.
which we started together.
hmm
Uh, yeah, I know Gary very well and respect everything he's done. Um, Same thing with Lee Greenwood.
Right.
Three of us call ourselves the Three Musketeers for veterans.
I think that's amazing because I think our country kind of pushes them under the rug. And
What?
I think our country kind of pushes them under the rug. And they don't get the respect or the help that they need. And we care about other people more than the people that served our country. So
Well,
I'm very
tell you
honored.
this, there are people such as Tunnels of Towers,
Mhm.
um, Snowball Express, which, by the way, is in its 20th year since we started it. No, there are many people out there. It may not seem to be that way to you, but trust me when I tell you, you can't raise $100+ million when people don't care. And they do. Where I think we have a problem is with our very young people. I'll
Mm.
give you an example. I'm with an organization, a foundation called Tribute to Valor.
Oh, I know them.
We
Okay.
started Tribute to Valor with Gary Luttrell, who was a Medal of Honor recipient, myself, and Jim Palmershine. And we started it just before the pandemic.
Okay.
And it's an amazing foundation. Gary came up with this idea of sharing the 6 core values that the Medal of Honor recipients live by.
Mhm.
And we have taken those core values with him and 2 other Medal of Honor recipients and myself to almost 100,000 students already. We then have been able to get, thanks to the Air Force, 3C-130s to fly into cities, and we fly these students to NASA in Houston. And we take them through 3 days of learning to be inspired in robotics, air travel, and space travel.
Smart.
And we also teach them STEM education. So there's 6 core values that we teach them. We ask them to ask the question to themselves, who am I? When you ask yourself the question, Susanna, today, who am I? And ask yourself that question in a mirror. You're going to find out who you are pretty quickly. You're going to look in the mirror, you're going to say, hey, Susanna, am I really a good person? And the answer is going to be yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to say, hey, Susanna, am I jealous sometimes?
We all are.
And the answer is going to be yes.
Yes.
Now you may answer the question that you'll get a no to. And that's the question only you have to know the answer to.
Huh.
So when we ask kids to do that, okay, they do it, and we bring the 6 core values, and those 6 core values will bring them back to patriotism, commitment. We'll learn, they will teach the word integrity, citizenship, and sacrifice. Those 6 core values, when they're taught to young kids, they'll remember who veterans are.
I love that. Love. Now you're coming out of retirement for a day starting tomorrow.
Only because it's a veteran show.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. They didn't send me that part.
Only God can retire me when it comes to veterans.
So you're going to be at New Jersey PAC tomorrow, right?
12,000 people.
Wow. And you're with Cousin Brucey?
Yes, Cousin Bruce, he asked me to come because we both do radio shows together for WABC. And the great thing about Cousin Brucey is when I was 16 years old, he was the host of Palisades Amusement Park in New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, I know that. I'm from California originally.
Okay, so you know that place.
Yeah.
And I was 16 and he brought me on stage when I was 16 years old to sing Heaven and Paradise. When I retired at 80 years old, that same Bruce Morrow brought me on stage to retire. How prophetic, how appropriate is that? How beautiful is that? That the guy that brought me on is the guy that retired me at the same time. So he calls me up and he goes, who else would you come out of retirement for but me? Can't ever turn Cousin Brucey down.
What is happening?
Or the military.
What is happening with this show tomorrow? Because this isn't what I thought it was at all.
Well, now you know.
I know, but I think my readers and listeners should know.
See, the thing is to me, honestly, it was a free show for veterans. It was a sheet, to honor them. And when it does that, and 12,000 people come, I wouldn't care if it's 12,000 people or 12,000 people. But when it's 12,000 veterans, oh my gosh, what a day that's going to be.
Are you going to sing for them?
Oh, yeah.
And when you retired and you did the full circle, did you sing the same song that you sang when you were 16?
Yes. Heaven and Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. It's like full circle of.
Yeah, full circle. Absolutely. And, he's now 88, I think. Brucey, I think he is. So are we on time, boss? Are we good? Is Susanna good? Because I'm talking a lot.
No, we like that. You're talking a lot.
We have 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So to answer your question, Susanna, honestly, yes, I did it because of Bruce, and we did it because it's veterans. And anytime anybody out there watching your show, like you, have a heart for this country, and you love this country, and you love those who put their life on the line for us.
Absolutely.
And you never forget those who gave their ultimate sacrifice for this country and died for our country. You know that there's no payment better than the feeling that you get for the integrity of coming to plate for them.
No, I actually got to go to Washington and to the hospital with Gary Sinise and Camp for Heroes for Christmas 2 years ago. And I got to give them and their families gifts, and I sang to some of them, and I held their hands and talked to them. And it was one of the best Christmas gifts given to me that I've ever had. So yes.
I'm happy to hear that. I met a young man by the Brendan Morocco in Iraq when I was in Iraq in 2008. And if it wasn't for Brendan Morocco, he coming home, the only person, 19-year-old, came out with no legs, no arms. Now does lifts, chin-ups with arms that were donated to him by a 15-year-old girl. He had the first operation with cadaver arms sewn onto his body. You go to Wikipedia and you look up Brendan Morocco and you'll see what he's done. And by the way, 1973 was when I first did Yellow Ribbon to welcome home the POWs from Vietnam and Cambodia. I reunion with them for 54 straight years. That's how long I've been doing this, honey. A long time.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you?
I'm very proud of that. And by the way, Gary Sinise,
Uh-huh.
a hero. Frank Silla is a hero.
Oh, I agree. They're great guys.
And Susanna, you're a heroine.
Aw, thank you. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you would like?
You haven't asked me for a date.
Ooh, would you like a date?
Let me ask my wife.
Thank you for talking with us. Thank you for the stories. Thank you for the insight. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, and thank you for being you. Thank you for being you.
Yes, and you're a hero as well.
And let's say this to all people of all religions.
Ooh, you're a legendary hero.
Thank you. You too. That's to all people watching of all religions. God bless you and God bless us all. Next Saturday, I'm doing a 2-hour show based on the marriage of Tara Ross and Tommy James on WABC. Go to the link. Go find the WABC Music Radio, 77 Music Radio, WABCradio.com. And next Saturday night at 10 o'clock Eastern Time and 9 o'clock Central and 7 o'clock Western, and hear me give tribute to Mrs. James.
Oh, I can't wait to put this onto the clip.
Oh, Susanna.